Hi, I've never made a video like this before, but Charlie Kirk's assassination shook me in ways I didn't think was possible. It woke me up and I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. I left the left shortly after the election because that was when I finally saw who they really were. But this is different. Charlie Kirk's death has changed something in me. I'm not saying I've become a Republican, but I also can't say I have a political home anymore. I thought after his murder that I would move on, just like I always do when hearing something tragic on the news. That kind of emotional disconnect happens a lot in our time. Technology constantly stimulates us, pulling us into the next headline, the next feed, always changing, never letting us stay grounded. But this time was different. I didn't move on, and I don't think I ever will. His death hit me in a way I've never expected. I didn't always agree with Charlie Kirk. In fact, sometimes he made me angry. But there were also times when what he said really resonated with me. I truly wish he wasn't dead because I don't believe anyone can replace Charlie Kirk. And to those of you who believe that Charlie Kirk's murder wouldn't mean much or would only impact a few, you're dead wrong. I will never be the same again after his death, and things will not be the same again in this country either. A lot of change is happening, and you should want to be on the right side of history. Just look at his memorial. Around 100,000 people showed up. It was described as the largest memorial for an ordinary citizen in American history. That alone should tell you the impact he had. It wasn't too long ago that I thought posting a video with my opinions wouldn't be a big deal, but I don't live in a world like that anymore. I don't know if this is going to be my first and last video or the first of many. I just know I had to say something about this. There is currently an online fight over whether Tyler Robertson, Charlie Kirk's killer, came from the right or the left, and honestly, I think the whole debate is kind of ridiculous. The court documents made it clear that he grew up in a conservative family, but then later adopted left-wing ideology and went down a deep online rabbit hole in extremist rhetoric. Prosecutors even pointed out that he engraved anti-fascist meme slogans on his bullet casings like, "Hey fascists, catch," which they directly tied to left-wing anti-fascist culture. Some people are claiming that Tyler Robertson wasn't an official member of either party or associated with any political groups. That's nonsense, because regardless of whether or not someone is officially registered as a Republican or Democrat, or whether they belong to any group, the fact remains that Tyler Robertson was consuming a lot of political content that shaped his views and his decision to murder Charlie Kirk. And a lot of that content was left-wing. His official political home is irrelevant. Whether or not he joined a group is irrelevant. It's crystal clear where he was getting his information and where his opinion was forming from. He also lived with a transgender partner, which likely made his anti-trans rhetoric feel far more personal to him. And in his own texts, Robinson admitted he was sick of Kirk's hatred and declared that some hate can't be negotiated out. To me, that shows how left-wing rhetoric framed Kirk as hateful. It fed into his already unstable thinking and pushed him into the delusional belief that killing was justified. I also must say I was deeply disturbed to see a portion of the left celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. I first noticed similar reactions after the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. In that case, I could at least understand where the anger was coming from, because people were enraged at a system that prioritized profit over lives, but Charlie Kirk is different. So much of the anger towards him was built on distortions. There are documented cases of this. For example, the Financial Times corrected a line that made it sound like Kirk was attacking black women, when in context he was referring to a few specific public figures. And a viral post claiming he used an Asian slur was also false. He was shouting a man's name, Junk, for Junk Uyghur, and a claim that he endorsed executing gay people was a distortion of a Bible quote discussion, not a direct call from him for violence. Those misquotes and distortions matter. They warp public sentiment. Charlie Kirk, he was definitely not a Nazi. He was simply a conservative man, not even a radical one. And he represented what a vast amount of Americans think, including people you probably know at your dinner table or in your everyday life. The second you celebrate the death of a man like this, you are telling everyone who thinks the same way that you want them dead. A lot of people online need to be ashamed of themselves right now and think about how they want to move forward and how we all want to move forward together as Americans. To those of you on the left who are now complaining after getting fired because your employer was uncomfortable with you celebrating the death of an ordinary conservative man, think back to all the times the left said canceling people on the right wasn't cancel culture or a violation of free speech, but a safety concern. Well, this is also a safety concern and should make you stop and think. It should also make you stop and think about whether cancel culture in general is ever a good idea on either side, because the truth is, cancel culture was happening before, and people on the left denied it existed, when it absolutely did. Now, the cultural narrative is shifting back towards conservatives, and a lot of people don't like it. A lot of times I don't like it, but maybe you should remember how conservatives felt when liberals controlled the culture. They didn't like it either. They definitely didn't like it either. And maybe think about cancel culture more closely in the future. As a society, we need to learn to pick our battles on what truly matters and figure out how to coexist with one another instead of forcing people who don't agree with us to live the way we want them to and think the way we want them to, and talk the way we want them to, simply because we control the cultural norm. Cancel culture isn't worth it in the bigger picture, and it's not sustainable over long periods of time. We need to think of the future, not ourselves. So, let's all catch a train out of this shithole together, shall we?